Hey there guys, this is Cole. Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a video game review, which I know it's been a little bit since I've done one, a little over a week at this point, but today's video game I'm going to be reviewing is the 2002 PlayStation exclusive game, the 2002 PlayStation 2 exclusive game, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Now, this is a game that throughout the years I had heard good things about, but I never got around to it because, number one, I never had a PS2 or a PS3. And secondly, the only way you can technically play the first three Sly Cooper games on a physical disc is if you either have a PS2 or if you have a PS3, because the first three Sly Cooper games for the PS2 were remastered in a collection pack for PS3. So, and I have a PS5, but I also do have a PS3 and a PS4. However, I did recently subscribe to PlayStation Plus, which is like a monthly subscription online store where you can basically buy games off there. And I saw that this game was rather cheap on there. This game was only $10 on the store, so I figured, why the heck not? Why not finally give this a try? And I gave this a chance because there's a YouTuber who I really like by the name of Podcast Now, a YouTuber that talks about video games, and Sly Cooper is his favorite video game series. So I figured, why don't I give these games a try for myself, or at least the first one? And I did beat the first game earlier today, and I gotta say, I really liked this game. Like, this game was a pleasant surprise. But anyways, what is the plot of this game? Well, the plot of this game is as follows. In Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, young thief Sly Cooper and his gang, Bentley the Turtle and Murray the Hippo, hunt down the Fiendish Five, a criminal syndicate that was responsible for the deaths of Sly Cooper's parents, and stole the Thievius Raccoonus, a family book of master thieving techniques. The game follows Sly as he reclaims pages from each villain across diverse global locations: Paris, Egypt, China, Russia, etc. Ultimately, confronting his robotic leader, Clockwork, to restore his family's legacy and become a true master thief. Now, this game was developed by Sucker Punch, and when this game came out on September 24th of 2002 on the PS2, this game received... Now, how was the game received? Well, when this game came out on September 24th of 2002, the game sold very well, and it was a hit both critically and financially, and the game was so popular that there were 3 sequels to it, including 2 sequels on the PS3, two sequels on the PS2, and then a fourth game in 2014 for the PS3, but on the day I'm recording this, I've only played the first game, and I have beaten it, but I gotta say, I really liked this game. So, without further ado, let's get into my review. So, the game starts off where it's 4:20 a.m. in the morning, where you basically start the game at Paris. You basically start off where you're playing as the raccoon Sly Cooper, where you are basically in Paris at 4:20 a.m. in the morning, and basically you have to go on these missions, stealing stuff to basically get a hold of clues. But what makes this game interesting is that, like I said, you're playing as Sly Cooper, a thief, but he is actually being chased by what makes this game interesting, yes, you play as a thief, but you're also being chased by a cop, and the cop you are being chased by is a girl by the name of Carmelita, who is basically a fox. So it's basically a fox chasing down a raccoon, where you play as the thief, the raccoon, and you basically have to outrun Carmelita, the fox, which I do think is rather interesting. And this is a 3D platformer game. And now, as much as I like Crash Bandicoot, and I do think Crash Bandicoot is a classic, I've never beaten Crash Bandicoot because it is a bit of a hard game, and this is too, but I actually beat this game. But what I like about this compared to other 3D platformers, I mean, what makes Sly Cooper so unique and different compared to other 3D platformer games, it's a 3D platformer game, but it also requires stealth. So this game right here is a stealth action 3D platformer type of game. And I personally think that the two genres mix together really well in this. And I will say, for a game that came out in 2002, the gameplay for the most part holds up rather well. Like, I was surprised at how well most of the gameplay held up for a game that came out in 2002. Like, I was genuinely surprised. And anyways, like I said, throughout the course of the game, Sly Cooper has to fight a group of these 5 villains called the Fiendish Five, which is basically like a group. And I gotta say, I really like the boss fights in this game of the Fiendish Five, which basically these are the bosses in the game. You got Miss Ruby, who is a crocodile. You got Mugshot, which is a bulldog gangster, a bulldog type of gangster with some shotguns. Panda King, which is a giant panda that can shoot fire out of his hands. We got Rainway, I think that's how you say his name, who's like a giant frog that like tries to bounce and hit you. And then the final boss in this game is Clockwork, who is basically like a giant robot type of owl that like, you know, that shoots, that fires at you with a machine gun that you have to fight, you know, later on in the game. And I gotta say, all the boss fights are really good in this game, you know. And I will say, this is a very challenging game. Like, this game is rather challenging at certain moments, because this is a game where you do have to do certain missions, and basically you have to do certain missions that are like quick time events. So this can get quite difficult at certain moments. But like I said, I did beat the game today, and I did rather enjoy it. I would say personally, now if I had to choose my favorite boss fight of the game, I guess I would say my favorite boss fight of the game has got to be Mugshot, which, like I said, Mugshot is one of the big bosses earlier on in the game. But Mugshot is by far my favorite boss fight of the game. I mean, Mugshot is basically like this bulldog who is basically a gangster that runs a casino. Like, that right there is a really cool premise. And I do think that the boss fight, while it is simple enough, it is a good boss fight. And I do like that villain in the game. And it is the second boss fight you come across, with the first major boss being Rayleg, of the frog type of guy. Now, if I really only have a couple of nitpicks with this game, which is not much, I guess really my only nitpick with this game, now, like I said, this is a very fun game, and again, I did have a good time playing it, and I do think that the difficulty is fun for the most part, but there is two missions in this game. There were two timed, and again, it is required for the game. There were 2 missions in the game that, like, you had to complete in a certain amount of time, and I gotta be honest, those 2 missions in the game I wasn't big on. Like, I thought those 2 missions in the game were rather tedious, but I mean, really, other than that, and I mean, again, another thing I'm gonna say is that yes, the graphics are not up to par with some of today's video games, but you know what? For a video game that came out in 2002, I personally think that the graphics in this game, for a game that came out all the way back in 2002, hold up pretty well to today's standards, you know, especially for the limited technology and graphics that they had at the time. And, yeah. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed this game. I would be curious to try the second game at some point, because again, I did really enjoy this first game, and I've heard that the second game is even better, and it's supposed to be the best game in the series. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this game, and if any of you guys have a PS5, or Like, if any of you guys have a PS5 and you have a monthly subscription to PlayStation Plus and you have not played this game, I would say buy the game for $10 and play it. It's honestly worth it. Or heck, even if you have like a PS3, buy the Sly Cooper Remastered HD Trilogy Collection, because I think this game is definitely worth it. So yeah, at the end of the day, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is a very fun 3D platformer game, and it's honestly my favorite 3D platformer game that I've played so far. I would like, this game was so fun that honestly, I would not mind replaying this game at some point, and yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus a 9 out of 10. Anyways, guys, that was my review of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. I want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section. What do you think of this game? And also, Sony, if anyone at Sony is watching this, which I know they're not, but Sony, please, can we get a new Sly Cooper game, please? I mean, look at it this way. In 2016, the PlayStation 2 video game Ratchet & Clank, that game actually got a remaster for PS4 by Insomniac. And here's the thing. When the Ratchet & Clank remake game came to the PS4 10 years ago, that game was a hit, both critically and financially. So for that reason alone, if we can get a remake of the popular 3D platformer Ratchet & Clank, if that game can get a remake that received critical acclaim and success, why can't we get a new Sly Cooper game? But that's Sony for you, unfortunately. So yeah. Anyways, guys, great game. This game gets like a 9 out of 10. And yeah, we will talk to you guys real soon here. Bye-bye now.